You're listening to trailblazers.fm, an interview-styled podcast that delves deep into bold conversations with successful Black entrepreneurs and leaders. Join us weekly to learn actionable strategies, valuable tactics, and innovative tools that you can put to use immediately on your journey to blazing your trail. And now, here's your host, my husband, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and good morning, Blazer Nation. I am realizing that we are having some issues over on LinkedIn, so I am just dropping a couple comments here to our Blazer Nation community, hoping everyone will hop over from LinkedIn to YouTube. But good morning, good Friday morning to you. Hope that you guys are having a fantastic morning. Hope this was a great week for you. Looking forward to today's conversation. But if this is your first time joining, I'm the host of trailblazers.fm, a platform that began as a podcast back in February 2016 with the goal of exploring stories of today's successful Black entrepreneurs and leaders. We've now interviewed, I believe it's more than 250, probably close to 300 amazing trailblazers. And today I am so very excited to add another amazing trailblazer to the list, Miss Kailei Carr. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for being here with me.
Good morning, Stephen. I am excited to be here too. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, so exciting. With live stream, always exciting to have, challenges with tech.
You got to roll with it.
So, but listen, we start every conversation off from a place of gratitude, and I've been just basking in this this week, especially, but wanting to have you pause for a second and think about the year that we've had and all that you've experienced and share with us an unexpected blessing that you're most grateful for in your life right now.
There have been so many unexpected blessings, and it's hard to pick one, Stephen, to tell you the truth, because they happen so often. And what I found is the more that I lean into my purpose, the more that I surrender to being a vessel for God and his work, then the more unexpected blessings happen. So, I mean, just yesterday I had conversations, even with colleagues, where there would be something that came to mind that I would share with them, that I felt like it wasn't even coming from me, it was coming through me for them. And it was something they needed to hear at that moment in time, and vice versa. I had a message on Voxer sent from someone I'm connected to in South Korea, who she said, this came to mind today. I don't know if this resonates with you, but it was it was so on point. It was something that she wouldn't have even known. So I am just I stay in a constant place of gratitude for being able to experience blessings, both for myself and other people, and to even witness it is a blessing, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah. So Kailei, we've been internet buddies in these internet streets for a long time. We share a mutual sister in Minda Hearts.
Yes.
And it's exciting to finally have you here and be able to connect. I know you're also a proud mommy, and you're a Georgia girl, I believe.
Yes. Currently, I'm a nomad, but this is my third time living in Georgia. So, I do claim Atlanta. I do.
You claim Atlanta. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. Well, I am, as you mentioned, I am a mother of a 5-year-old trailblazer. I mean, this little girl, I am really looking forward to seeing what's in store for her, because at even a year old, she was showing that she was a leader. Like
Yes.
grown people would follow her at 18 months old. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what
Mm.
am I in for? So I'm a mom, I'm a wife to an amazing husband. I lead an organization called the Asbury Group, which is a transformational leadership development firm. We specialize in building leaders from the inside out, really have a whole person approach to the work that we do. So, personal development, professional development, leadership development, and I really see us at this intersection of personal, professional, and spiritual. Now, you know, to my corporate clients who might be watching, we don't lead with that, but when our people and our work and we're operating in our true magic, there's
Yeah.
no way for spirit not to be present.
Mm.
So,
I love that.
so I'm just really grateful for being able to work with so many, especially women of color, which is really our niche. But we have
Yeah.
clients around the world. We work with a diverse group of clients, and even in the past year, we've worked with clients on 5 continents. So I'm excited about that. Run a community called the Beyond Community, which is a group of women of color who are purpose driven, and we are right at that intersection that I mentioned. Lead a podcast called Beyond the Business Suit that I've been running since September 2014. And as I mentioned, I'm a nomad. So I was born in South Jersey and have lived in
Great.
about 9 different states. I heard that my name, Kailei, means little boomerang in some an Aboriginal
Really?
language, and I can see that playing out. I've lived in Chicago 3 times, lived in Georgia 3 times, I've
Wow.
lived in New York twice. So you throw me away and I'll come right back.
I love it. I've lived in a number of places, and you know, my wife Kristen and I have lived in this home going on 10 years. This coming year,
Wow.
I've never lived in any house for 10 years before
Oh my
this one.
goodness.
And so it's finally, you know, a place where I think the longest I'd been some in one place was like 4 years prior to now,
Wow.
which is pretty cool. Kind of shows I'm aging and finally like slowing down.
Well, it
Uh,
must be comfortable. There must be some good energy there.
yes, absolutely. And now the kids are not. I jokingly say, hey, you know, we're moving back to Florida, and their grandparents are about 10 minutes away, and
Wow.
I'd have to move the whole the whole tribe to get them away at this point. But listen, what's you talked about, you know, being the founder and the CEO of the Asbury Group. What's driving you in the work that you're doing today?
Mm. What drives me is seeing other people achieve their potential,
Mm,
seeing other people and helping other people see the power that lies within them.
yeah.
Because most of the time, or so many of us, we have been told that we're not good enough. We have been culturally conditioned to suppress ourselves. We make ourselves smaller. We dim our lights. But one of my gifts that I'm grateful for is that I'm able to see someone at their best before they're able to see it. So, what
Mm,
drives me is to help other people see themselves in their fullest potential and help them to get there.
yeah.
So, I love it.
That's something special. Yeah, Wednesday morning was talking with Sean Dove, a good friend of mine, to the
Yes, I
podcast.
saw part of that.
And, you know, I always jokingly say to Sean that he saw something in me that I
Mhm.
didn't see in myself. He saw it before I saw it for me.
Mhm.
And that's a special gift. Why focus in? I'm somebody that's big on branding, big on being very clear about who it is that you're serving.
Yeah.
You've been very deliberate to say, you know, you're speaking to women of color in a lot of the work that you do. why focus in? Why niche in? And how has that served you?
Yes. I am very clear about who I'm called to serve.
Mm,
And I understand that the work is broader than that. And as I mentioned, our clientele, especially on the corporate side, is broader than that.
yeah.
But I mean, and when we really get down to it, part of my mission, and I've known this for 20 years, is that part of what I'm here to do is to uplift and elevate the brand of Black women.
Mm,
And I do that either by helping them to do that and by being a representation myself
yeah.
and by highlighting other voices of excellence. So I think it's important because I mean I feel like when when you have that knowing,
Yeah.
you got to honor it. So I'm honoring it, and I know growing up as a daughter of an amazing Black woman
Mm,
who had women around her. My mom worked in corporate environments. She, was climbing that corporate ladder. The women around her were so exceptional, and that was the who I when I thought of Black women, I thought about my mom and her
mm,
friends. And yet, when I would look at the television and I would look in media, there was a disconnect and how Black women were portrayed other than Claire Huxtable and Oprah.
mm,
That was so it was so misaligned from what my reality was. And I knew, I'm like, no, this is real. This is
mhm,
real. And we're not just one thing. So it's really important for me, for our young girls, to see themselves in others and see excellence in others, and also to recondition those of us who've been taught and told that we are something that is not brilliant.
mm. I love that you said that because that was the very thing you articulated so well, exactly why I started this platform.
Mm.
My crumb snatcher number one, Layla was probably 4 or 5 years old when I was standing in daycare looking around at the amazing other, people picking up their kids, other amazing Black professionals,
Mhm.
and seeing, success in my peers. I'm now too many years out of college. Dare I say 20 something. But 20 something years away from college, I'm seeing other peers of mine who are now at the peak of what it is that they're passionate and, about doing, and are accomplishing things at the highest levels.
Yeah.
And, you know, their success also isn't portrayed in the media. And that was the fuel for me. So I appreciate you sharing that, because we were fueled by somewhat similar things.
Yes, and kudos to you, Stephen, for all that you do with this platform. And it's been great to cheer you on from the sidelines, and for how you have amplified so many of us. So thank you.
Thank you as well. You're big sis on the podcast front. 2014, you the OG.
I feel like, yeah, I'm an OG. Woo.
Podcasting. I mean, you're almost. I think 10 years is the point where you can be nominated for Hall of Fame. With I don't know if that group's still doing it though. I have to
Oh
actually
my
check.
goodness.
But they used to honor Hall
Wow.
of Famers at Podcast Movement every year.
Oh, wow.
And
It's
the
been a
correct,
while since I've been to Podcast Movement. I went
yeah,
to the very first
really.
Podcast Movement. Yes.
Wow. I believe this
Yeah.
next one coming might be back in Dallas. Not 100%
Oh, nice.
sure. Yeah. So listen, we are here to talk about power, right? Personal power,
Mhm.
unleashing
Mhm.
your personal power. And I was
Yeah.
thinking about this, and I was, I love to break things down to the lowest level
Mhm.
sometimes and get clear, right? How does someone define their superpower? Is it a skill?
Mhm.
Is it a talent? Like what? How do we define that?
Yes. Your personal power is a combination of things. So
Mm,
it's not just one thing. It's not a skill. It's not a gift. It's not a talent. It is a skill. It is a combination of your skills, your
yeah.
talents, your gifts, your passions, your
Mm,
purpose, the experiences that have shaped who you are. All of those things together comprise your personal power. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention your connection to the divine, your
mm,
connection to something bigger than yourself. That all fuels who you are. And the more that we can lean into that power and really align what we do with who we are, the more powerful we will be.
yeah. How how are you able to identify that, right? Like,
Yes.
but for me, I oftentimes, I know I'm not always the smartest person in the room. Like, I'm married to a really smart person, right? And I'm around like her family all the time, and they're just like a bunch of Ivy Leaguers and really smart people. I work around really smart people, and I know that's not necessarily my thing, but I have the gift to charm, and I have a power with people, and that's kind of something that I've developed, and I have this love for tech, and a love for some different things, but I've identified my strengths and lean to those strengths quite a bit, and then leverage other people for the areas I'm weak.
Mhm.
How do we understand that power source, as you will, as you've said?
Yes. And you just beautifully articulated how you have tapped into yours. So
Mhm.
a part of that is self-awareness. It's
Mm,
self-exploration, right? It's identifying those gaps and identifying where you can leverage others to
yeah.
fill in those gaps. And when I say gaps, I don't want people to think, deficiencies or weaknesses. We all have different strengths, and we can be collectively more powerful if we can tap into each other's strengths, right?
Yes.
So the question of how did I discover those for myself? Honestly, it was through my own journey. So if we go back to 2013, at the time I was leading a marketing department for a technology company. I was planning my wedding. My mom was battling stage 4 esophageal
Mm,
cancer, and it was a really pivotal time in my career and in my life,
mm,
with a lot of highs and lows. And I wouldn't even say, I guess it became a pivotal time in my career, but it really was a pivotal time in my life. And long story short, my company that I was working for had they asked me to move. They asked me to relocate to a different city, and I decided not to take that relocation given what
mm,
was going on with my mom. My last day working there was on August 2nd. It was a Friday. Monday, August 5th, my mom passed away.
mm,
Wednesday, August 7th, my husband left his job. Now, he had already been planning on building his practice, and needless to say, everything in my life changed. And I've heard you talk about your father and his health journey, and I
mm.
can tell that you and your dad are really close. And my mom was that person for me. I mean, we were so close, and I took care of her for the last 18 months of her life.
Mm,
And at that moment, I had a decision. Do I go get another six-figure job and continue to climb the ladder, or do I do something different? And it wasn't, and I say a decision, it wasn't even really a decision. It was something in me said, this next phase for you is going to be about leveraging your gifts, leveraging who you are to impact others. So I had to explore that. And the way I did that is to ask myself a lot of the questions that I now ask my clients. What are my strengths? What are some of the things people come to me for? What gives me energy? What am I really good at, and that I enjoy doing? Because not everything that we're good at, like we may be skilled in something, but if it doesn't bring us joy, if it doesn't bring us energy, then I knew I didn't want to do that. And
yes.
I followed the breadcrumbs, right? You talked about this passion you have for tech. I thought about, the passion that I have for image and like fashion and shopping. I thought about digital, and I had been working in digital for quite some time, and my interest in branding and development of women of color. And I brought all of those things together, and I asked people who knew me very well, what did they think I was good at? How would they describe me? What did they see me doing? And how, what did me at my best look like for them? That helped me realize, get a clearer picture
Yeah.
of who I am and how I'm perceived to others, and help me lay the groundwork for starting my practice and being okay with the evolution that it's taken along the way.
I just love all of that. You know, in my branding, in my own branding course, I talk a good bit about something you just touched on. You know, getting clear on what you love,
Mm-hmm.
and two, what you're good at,
Yes.
right? And you know what people need and what you can get paid for are also important pieces of that, right?
Yes.
Intersect
Yes.
to discover your purpose. Um, what characteristics do you think that, you know, you work with a number of leaders in your world and in your work? Curious to pick your brain on, you know, characteristics you think that leaders in this time, post pandemic, in this digital economy, what are some characteristics you think we need to possess?
Yes. One, we need to embrace change,
Yeah.
because it's especially in light of what we have experienced over the last almost 2 years.
Mhm.
Those leaders who are stuck in going back to the way things used to be and are really digging their heels into that will not be successful.
Mm.
They just won't. So I think being able to embrace change and reimagine work, life, leadership, organizations based upon the changing circumstances and being able to be agile
Yeah.
with that is really important. Even more important than that is empathy.
Yes. Yes.
Empathy. Understand, being able to connect with your people, understanding, being open to understanding their experiences, and being really strategic and intentional about creating environments where people feel seen and heard is extremely important. One thing that is not being discussed enough, and something that I'm really, it's a base of a lot of the work that I do, is taking care of themselves. I had one of my clients earlier this week who she covers a region of over 30 countries. And, you know, she's a wife, she's a mom, she's a leader
Mm.
that's, you know, in a very demanding position in a time that is a very, you know, challenging time. And we were talking, and she said, you know, I'm taking care of so many people, but who's taking care of me?
Mm.
Who's taking care of me?
Mm.
So having practices that are really focused on filling up our spirits, our souls, our minds, bodies, and souls is, I mean, it's critical. It's critical because we can't run at 110, you know, sustain that without filling our own cups. So creating practices for mindfulness, for that will help the mindset, is so critical. And I mean, even I've met with almost 20 clients over the past 2 weeks, and for executive coaching. And it's so interesting how one tool that has come up, and it completely not even planning on being the basis of our conversations, I've shared with them the morning routine that I do every day, because they're experiencing so much anxiety, depression, burnout, stress, and because they don't have practices that will allow them to create more space in their minds and bodies.
Cannot emphasize how important it is to create those practices and have those tools in your toolkit.
Yes.
As you touched on, coming into 2020, girl, I was pushing the envelope, and I was on the beast mode hustle all the time with no margins, coming into this crazy valley season, that is 2 years times 20, and I broke, right. It didn't take much for me to completely break down, and it was, thank God for a good wife who said, hey, you need therapy, right?
Yes.
And me learning to embrace that, and now completely finding value in it, right? And having those tools, right?
Yeah.
Because the cycles that I've gone through, it hasn't been just this constant state of depression or challenge. It's this roller coaster ride over these past 2 years where just different things happen, and it drives you up the wall, right?
Absolutely. And that hustle and grind isn't going to be able to, that's not going to help us. And in fact,
doesn't.
I'm looking at my mug. I don't know if you can see this.
Less hustle, more flow.
It's one of my mantras.
But you know what? I've learned to embrace that, right? I've learned to embrace, like, Stephen, you have 10 million things to do, but I ain't feeling right today, and I'll shut it down. I've learned to go for a walk without my tech, and be able to be in the present. And I've just found so much value in being able to do that, and being able to prioritize what's needed, and not try to get everything done. Like I shared with you in the green room before we got going, I'm shutting off for 2 weeks at the end of the year. I haven't done that in a decade, Kylie. Wow. My wife and I were walking the other day. I was like, can you think of me shutting down for 2 weeks at the end of any year since we've been married? No, 13 years. This has never happened.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And but it's just so important that I shut down, allow my mind and my body to rest and reset, spend time doing something else, with the family. But just can't stress that enough. And for my brothers listening in, I've been emphasizing the importance of therapy. Can't stress enough, how important that is, that we take care of our minds, and our mental health.
Absolutely.
So listen, before I let you go, a couple of things our Blazer Nation community loves to hear is the resources of our featured trailblazers. And so what books are you reading or you've read that you think we should add to our queue?
Ooh, yes. So right now I'm thinking about my my Audible library.
Yes.
I'm like, what's on rotation? I'm almost finished. Today I'll be finished with Right Within by Minda Hart, by our girl Minda Hart. In fact, tomorrow in the Beyond community that I run, we are discussing the book. We had Minda with us a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
And have been reading that. One book that I started reading again is The Buddha and the Badass by Vishen Lakhiani from Mind Valley, the founder of Mind Valley. So good. Oh my gosh, Stephen, you will get it. You will be like, it's so good. It's so good. I read it in September of 2020. And for where my business is right now, I knew I needed it again. And I'm also writing a book. So I'm getting inspired by it. So that's another one. One of the books that I recommend more than anything else, especially for the women I work with, is a book called Playing Big by Tara Mohr. Her first name is Tara, last name Mohr. And even for the men listening who maybe you struggle with confidence or communicating confidently, It's an excellent book,
Mm,
especially for us high achievers. And particularly one of the chapters I really love is one that she has on communication
mm.
and and she breaks it down, how to communicate with confidence and take out some of the words that are disempowering. So those are a few that come to mind.
Love it. So tell us how we can stay connected to you, and get subscribed to the podcast and maybe the Beyond community for the women listening in.
Yeah, so you can follow me on all socials at Kailei Carr,
Yes.
and I have a lot of vowels in my name, so I'll spell it Kailei is my first name and last name Carr. And you can follow Beyond the Business Suit or subscribe wherever you find your podcasts, or you can go to beyondthebusinesssuit.com to get access to the archives. You can also learn more about the Beyond community, which in 2022, we're changing the name to the Beyonding community, because what we found is that's the terminology that we use within the Beyond community of what we're doing. We are beyonding.
Nice.
So you can go to beyondingcommunity.com to get on our wait list for when we open up membership in January 2022.
So let me pick your brain on this. Is the Beyonding community a mastermind? How do you define the group?
I define the group as an oasis of self-elevation and expansion.
Ooh.
Yes. So, and God gave me this vision of being an oasis, and I thought I knew what an oasis was, and then I looked up the definition and realized, oh, an oasis is water. It's a water source. It's fertile ground in the midst of a desert. That's what an oasis is. So when you think about what has been happening over the past 2 years, and especially going back to, June of last year and even this time last year, how it felt like a desert, but having a place where you can still grow and flourish and thrive and learn is what this community has become.
I love it. Listen, some of us brothers might be peeking into
right.
peeking into Zoom, like, hey, we want some of that. I'll need to pick your brain on that. I've facilitated masterminds for a good long bit, and one of the calls I've actually been having, I was texting with somebody just this week about, do I want to actually engage in a mastermind for brothers, because a lot of my sisters are doing communities for sisters. And I've been talking to a good number of strong brothers who have been asking me about masterminds, and I'm like, could be something. Could be something there.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yes.
Let's talk.
Yeah. So listen, what's as we close up, what's an action that our Blazer Nation coming away from this conversation can take that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
Yes. So I'm going to hone in on this idea of taking care of yourself, because as I was talking about power and understanding your personal power, you also need to understand what it takes to recharge your power. And that is going to be different for everyone. So I challenge you, especially as we end this year, to really take a look at what are some of the practices you can put into place. What is your relentless self-care toolkit, and what does it include? What does it include? And think about what brings you energy. What practices can help you calm down? So calming practices, energy giving practices, but also paying attention to what is your kryptonite? What are the energy suckers? What are those people? Who are those people? What are those things that deplete your energy? So for me, I can't stand expense reporting, taxes, all of that stuff, all of that stuff. So I have a CPA and a bookkeeper to handle that stuff. Yeah. And when I have to do something, like I'll boost myself up and have a dance party with Beyonce before I do it, so I'll be in a better energy place.
That's right.
And also, who are those people who we know and love? Love them, mean it. Love them,
Mhm.
mean it. But we have to have some boundaries so that we can protect our energy, protect our peace. Think about what those things are for you and create your toolkit to tap into at those times when you need it most, and ongoing, so that you don't have to really go in and
Mhm.
do some deep self-care, that you
Yeah,
can have a good maintenance plan in place.
I love it. Blaze Nation, you know, give some virtual claps and snaps for Kailei. Thank you so very much for being here with me. I definitely want you back on when the book is ready.
I would
There's so
love
many
that.
there's so many things we touched on that I feel like we could go down a rabbit hole on. So you're definitely invited back anytime.
I would love that.
And I
Thank you for having me, Stephen. And I can't wait to have you
absolutely,
on Beyond the Business Suit so we can talk more.
yes, absolutely. I'm excited about that. Blazing Nation, listen up. I have an upcoming cohort for my branding course, Brand in Demand. That's going to start in January. I invite you to hop on over right now to brandindemand.co and learn more about the upcoming cohort for our January session. Every Monday, I go live at 8 a.m. in the morning and pour out some motivational mission fuel. And on Wednesdays, my brother Sean Dove and I have a great Millionaire Wednesday session at 8 as well. So be sure to come rock with us. I'll be back here on Monday. We have 2 more weeks to go before we close our year for some rest and a reset, a much needed reset. But go out and enjoy your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you back here bright and early at 8 a.m. on Monday. Cheers.